This is the show dedicated to raising up the next generation of men of faith and character. My name is Mark Stanifer. Welcome to the Next Man Up. Well, hey guys, welcome back to the Next Man Up podcast, where we are about raising up the next generation of men, because when boys become healthy and godly men, everyone benefits. You know this. My name is Mark. Good to be with you. If you are joining us today for the first time, welcome. So good to have you with us. If you got any feedback or questions or comments, feel free to hit us up at our email, feedback@thenextmanup.com, or find us on Facebook at NMU Journey is where we live there. So you know this, we are halfway through a conversation that I had with Adam Buzbee. Adam is a husband, he's a dad, he's a director of outdoor education at the Heartland Conference and Retreat Center here in the Central Ohio area. And if you haven't heard the first half, it probably makes sense to start there. So you know right where we're picking up with the second half of this conversation. In today's conversation, in part two, if you will, we get into a few different topics, particularly around how Adam took his past and made a different direction for him as a father and what he wanted to do with his boys, and how he's raising them intentionally with a process, with an initiation or rite of passage process, and what that looks like in his family and the difference that he is trying to make. I know that you're going to enjoy this second half. If you listened to the first half, you're going to get more of the same and even more in this second half as we wrap up the conversation. So let's just do that. Let's get to part two of my conversation with Adam Buzbee.
Okay, I became a man when I was, 18. I mean, I left home. I went to the college route and left home. I'm going to be my own man. I look back after years, and there were some times in my life where all those mistakes that I made, I had to get help to work through that. Mm-hmm. And as a man, as a strong working man, that was humiliating for me to ask for help.
That's right.
And I can remember sitting in the psychologist's office, and dude, this guy looks at me and he says, "Who are you? You have to answer that question." And I go, I don't know. Long story short, I was a pastor, a youth pastor, and had not dealt with past issues in my life. And I was working so hard to try to make things happen on my own, not relying on God. I pushed my family away. My wife, we were having those discussions of, do you love me? I don't feel, you're a pastor and I don't feel like you love me. And I had to step away from all of that and go, okay, who am I? Who has God created me to be?
Yeah, beyond the titles, beyond the roles, beyond the experiences, right? Beyond my feelings and all. Who am I?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Who has God placed within me to be?
Yep.
Because that is the ultimate question. It's not 42, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yep.
It is God speaking into your life and leading you through thoughts, desires, innate skills and abilities, and then things that you have developed and picked up along the way, opportunities. And all of that merges together. And I sat there and started asking life questions. And my wife and I, we said we have to figure this out both for each of us as individuals. And so I looked at my son, when he's now 15, but he was 12 years old. And I said, he needs a point in his life where he knows I see him as a man. And so I started doing research.
How did you, before you talk about the research, how did you get to that statement? Like, how did you get to the point where you realized my boy needs this?
Yeah. So we were attempting to homeschool at that time, and I went to a conference and heard another dad share that he had all of these men speak into his life, but the one that counted was his father. And so he challenged us as dads to step up and place manhood on our boys. He said, not only do you get to help raise your own kids for God, but you get to help your friends raise their kids. And, at some point in time, dad's validation might not be enough. You need the validation of other men. And he goes, you have to bring in your friends. And as I was sitting there listening, I was taken back into time where I would sit, so to say, at the feet of my dad. I would sit in my dad's conversations with his friends, and I just wanted to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear his friends also say, man, you're strong. Wow, you did well at that. That was validating. I mean, you can live a lifetime on that sort of validation.
So you went back and realized I had these moments in my own life, and so I want to be able to intentionally do that, bestow confer this mantle of manhood on my own boys.
Yeah, and my dad, he shared that he attempted to do that, but he had no idea what it looked like. Mm-hmm. I just know I have to raise you boys as godly men, mm-hmm. and I've just got to figure this out. I don't know how to, so I'm going to work hard again. Okay, back to the work. I'm going to
do what I know to do.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you that. And I can remember, my dad, he would tell us that he loved us, but I think he showed it more than anything. Mm-hmm. And his dad never said it. So for him, saying it once in a while was huge.
Yeah.
So, I'm being taken back in a time while I'm at that conference, and I'm thinking about all this stuff. My mind is just, flooded with all these memories. And I said, I have got to do that with my boys. There has to be more information out there.
Yep.
And I went to my dad, and he said, you research this out. You can figure this out. I'm right here with you. So in that research, I came across a book, and because of my ADD, I pulled this up here. I did not want to lose it, but the book is at home, and this resource walks you through so many of the challenges as a dad that you have, and the opportunity to place the mantle of manhood on your kid. Okay, that this acceptance, this validation, that's what it comes down to. If I could bring it down to those two words, acceptance and validation, those are separate, but they need to be united together. Two different things that both need to be done. And the book is The Boy's Passage, A Man's Journey by Brian D. Molitor. It's Molitor. And he has a podcast. You can go on YouTube and look up. It's got some really great stuff on there. But he explains in this book the journey he went on to create this for his boys. And he explains to you creating a scenario where all of society that surrounds your young man validates them as a man. And I remember talking to my wife, and her struggle was, but I still see them as a little boy. Yeah. And I said, but there's got to be a point in time where we transition and we stop calling them our boys and we start calling them our men.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
From the beginning, boys are wired with this desire, this innate drive to become men. Yeah. And I think it's John Eldridge, that talks about the two questions that boys want answered. It's, am I enough, and have I arrived? Yeah. Right? Like those, if I don't have them exactly right, I got the sentiment close. Yep. Those are the questions that boys are asking. And fathers are in that unique and ideal role to be able to give them the answers, both with how they speak to them and calling out the man that's inside, and also with how they orchestrate the community of men that comes around them and does the same thing.
It's huge. I'm turning 40 this year, and I can say that over over my 39 years, that has been my drive. Am I enough? Who has to speak that into my life? And I think for guys, we move away from our dads to say that, especially if we don't get it from there, then we start seeking that from women. And Eldridge speaks of that.
Yep.
And that was a huge thing for me. I wanted that validation. And so then I got married and realized that because I had been unhealthy in that realization of sexuality, I brought all of that into my marriage. And now I was seeking for validation that was incorrect, even from my wife.
Yep.
And she's like, I don't even know how to validate you. And the whole time I'm just, am I enough? Am I good enough?
That's right. That's right.
And the enemy, let's go back to the mind. The enemy plays out his war in your mind. And so a couple things I have learned that I'm taking into raising up my boys. Number one, whether you love sports, whether you love outdoors, whether you love cars and mechanics, or whether you love painting, God has created something innate within you to do that you need validated as a man. Whether it's writing, whether it's doing videography, it doesn't matter. And I've had guys come to me. I like to bow hunt too. Fishing's that's my first thing. I love to fish.
But you'll slum it with a bow.
I'll slum it with a bow if I have to. Up in the tree stand and chasing them along the trails. Stalking them, and I love being outdoors. It's life giving.
Yep.
It is life giving. But I have been told, wow, you're a man's man. And I go, whoa. What? And I have had conversations with young men, teenagers, who feel less of a man because they don't connect with shooting a bow or a gun or
all these
fishing.
Activities that we describe as manly activities, right?
Yeah, no, that has nothing to do with manhood. Manhood, man, it comes down to respect, responsibility. So on this journey of manhood, we have made some decisions with our boys. And how do we place this mantle of respect, this mantle of responsibility on them? And so for my oldest, I asked him, I said, I'm going to take you on a trip. What's this trip need to look like for you? This is a manhood trip. If you could do something that with your dad that said, wow, that's manly. What is that for you? Okay. Now I've grown up in the outdoors. I've done, quite a bit of camping, but I've never been backpacking with a hammock. All right. It's just like one of those things. This is how we do camping over here, with the tent and everything. And he had this interest. He wanted to go backpacking with a hammock.
Okay.
So we researched it out together. We studied it out. We found the trails. We spent all this time researching, got the gear together, let him pick it out. And then I said, rather than me leading this camping trip, he's going to lead this camping trip.
Yes.
Well, what it turned out to be was a leading of it together. So we get going down. We make all these plans. Pulled him out of school early, which, manhood thing right there.
Yeah, let's go.
We head down the road in the vehicle and in the truck at that time, and we get caught in traffic. We get to the trailhead, and it is pitch black and pouring down rain. Okay.
Ideal for backpacking,
right?
And hammock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here in the truck at the trailhead. And I'm going, it is going to be 12 hours before daylight. So, Kyle, we have something to figure out here. We can sit here in this vehicle and sleep in the vehicle, get up and hit the trail, in the morning. Or we can put our headlamps on and our rain gear and take off down a trail that we've never been on before in the dark and in the pouring rain. What do you want to do? And he is conflicted. He's sitting here. Yeah. I mean, the rain is hitting this truck, and over the rain, he goes, "Let's do this." And so we did. So he woke up the next morning, and we're in the hammocks underneath our tarps that we had built. We made ourselves. We were going to go all out and make this stuff as best we can ourselves. And we wake up in the morning, and I reached over into my pack, and I pulled out a Ziploc bag full of letters. And I had reached out to my dad, my father-in-law, and a couple other men that my son saw me with, that I knew can speak into his life. And I asked them to write a letter of manhood to him.
How cool.
I said, talk about mistakes. Talk about exciting transitions in your life. Talk about those important things that, man, if someone would have just told me this, wow, it would have made all the difference.
Yep.
What are those things that you did as a man that you would never take back? It made you who you are. What are the things that as a man he needs to do to be seen as responsible, respectful, a man of God? What did you find in life? And so I asked them to speak this into him. And so every morning on the trail, as part of our devotions, I would pull out another letter and let him read. And I wanted to honor, my dad. So that was the first one. And I wanted to honor my father-in-law, who speaks really big into the boys' lives also. And so his was the second one. And, for him, that was huge. But then I also had to have the gift. That gift.
That's right.
And, for him, our boys, all three of them, they have a love of cutlery.
Wonder where they got that.
I know, right? We have boxes of blades all over the place. He has a handmade knife that has seen the forge. That's big. It's a belt knife that he can see, that he can use. It is one that is, it's called a bushcraft knife, but it is a multi-faceted or multi-use knife. It's one of the strongest knives that you can go out, you can split wood with it through what's called batoning, you can whittle. There's so many uses. And it's made out of some crazy sharp steel. And we gave that to him. And I love walking into his room because there's days where he just has it out. He loves to play guitar. And so we've got a whole wall of guitars. And between playing the guitars, he'll reach over and he pulls that knife out and looks at it and cleans it and spins it around, does some dangerous stuff with it. And it's that gift, it's that mantle, so to say.
That's right.
That, hey, you're a man.
That's right.
So this journey that Brian talks about in his book is something that I feel never ends. And so many men have talked about that. It never ends. It just keeps on going.
Yep.
I hit these adventures. I go out on these wilderness adventures, fishing and hunting, and I disconnect. And so I'm challenging my boys, disconnect. And so we have a family cell phone that they can use, and we're teaching them how to be responsible with it and do all of that. And even in all of these responsible moments, I'm taking them through this journey of life. This blasted cell phone has introduced them to things that I would never want my kids to be introduced to. Never. But it's the reality of our times. And so I'm having these conversations with them. And I had a conversation with my one boy. He got on there, and you can have every single filter, everything on. You can add all of these apps and everything. You can shut your phone down. And there's still things that get through.
Yep.
How do we handle that?
Yep.
How do we handle the things that get through into life? We got this COVID thing that we're all dealing with. It slipped in. We've got all these protections, but yet this got through.
Yep.
And so you're going to have those. And so I'm trying to teach my boys, no matter what you are doing, the enemy, the world, just life is going to toss you stuff that you realize, wow, I'm attracted to that. There's something in me that's drawn to that. How do I handle it as a Christian young man? And, to be honest with you, my wife's family's in Iowa. So we drive interstate 80, 90, go through Chicago. And as a Christian man, because of my past, I struggle with some of the billboards that I come into these big cities and that are up there. They got billboards for strip clubs and things. And you don't even realize that you've seen them until your mind tells you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. When you get past this caricature of manly men with a gun on one shoulder and the deer on the other, right?
Yep.
And not to disparage any of that,
Yeah.
but we've set that up as, that's a man's man.
Yeah.
When you get past that, and when you get past our tethering to our electronic entertainment or devices,
Yep.
I think you can then begin to see a way out into outside. Mm-hmm. Whatever outside is, it could be a walk, or it could be 3 months on the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one or the other. There's a whole spectrum. Yeah. What you're pointing to is rediscover what, as people, we used to experience on a regular basis, being outside.
Yeah.
And rediscover the benefits of disconnecting for a bit, reconnecting with something spiritual, something soul-giving, something life-giving, and then to be able to include our boys in that, it's like icing on the cake, right?
It's huge. So I have 3 boys. All 3 of them have different personalities. Mm-hmm. They all enjoy going outside and being out there, but they all enjoy it in different ways.
That's right.
We've chosen to give them gifts that at different ages will help them go out and enjoy nature. But I'm also giving them gifts that, even though I know they're not totally interested in, I don't want to just feed what God's created them to be interested in, but I also want to feed them the connection of me. Mm-hmm. Because at some point in time, when they need to have a hard conversation and they don't know how to do it, there's a resource there.
Yeah.
They can pick up a firearm and say, Dad, let's go shooting.
Yeah.
And pick up the fly rod and say, Dad, will you take me fly fishing?
Yeah.
And those are kind of moments or clues where I can say they either just need to be with me because now they're entering into who I am, even though I've released them to be their own man. There's those moments of connection.
Yep, that's right.
And it's part of my identity.
Yep.
That I want them to have too at the same time. They don't have to do it, but I want to give them a piece of me also.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I've talked to so many dads who just feel like they're failures. They don't know how to connect with their kids. And I'm one of them. And I can either keep failing or I can grow.
Yep.
So where are you at as a dad?
Yep.
Do you think you have it together and you're doing great, but you're really not doing anything because no one said anything? Or do you feel like the failure that says, man, I'm spinning my wheels and I'm not doing this? Okay. So either or, you've got to make some decisions. So I'm calling you. I'm calling you on it. You've got to be at a point where you say, I can do better.
Yeah, there's more.
There is more.
Yep.
So I've had these conversations with so many dads who go, wow, I want to do what you're doing. You've got it together. And I got to be honest and say, no, I'm learning this as I go.
Yeah.
I'm learning right along with you. I'm learning with you. Just my motivation because of how I grew up might just be different. So let's do this together. So ask yourself, how am I doing? Where am I at? Where do I need to improve? And do I have other guys around me that I can plug into? We might have completely different hobbies, but we can connect and we can say, let's do life together.
Yes.
Even if it's once every couple of months, we can get together and we can do things.
Yep.
And for me, my goal, I try to get all these guys out and we go do some camping, some kayaking. A couple of them are backpackers, and so we pulled in another guy, and he's never done that before. I sat down and I watched, the Super Bowl with another dad and his son and my son. It's something I don't do, and I know I am an American, I promise, but it just football and me, I just don't spend a lot of time watching football. And so they're pulling me into their sports.
Yeah.
And so we're sharing life. We're doing things back and forth and helping each other live, experience different things, and then ask that big question, hey, what does God want me to do next?
Yeah, that's good.
Where's God in this?
That's good.
Yeah, just want to leave you with that challenge. No matter who you are, who God has created you to be, we have that responsibility to raise our boys and to connect with them. And right now, with all the distractions, it is really easy to go to work, come home, watch TV, sit there on my phone, do some work emails, and forget to have meaningful conversations with our kids.
We're called to something so much bigger.
Yeah. So, something that I have been doing to help with that is I will go home and I'll take my cell phone and I set it on the kitchen counter and I turn it up. So if someone needs to get a hold of me, then I'm good. But if I'm not on call for my job, if there's things that are going on, I can research. I can research anytime. I don't want it to just become the norm of what I do.
Yeah.
And so I try to leave that cell phone as often as I can on that counter. And I've got another friend that does the same thing. And when our boys, when they come in and their friends come to our house, we ask them, hey, can you put your cell phone there on the counter? You can use it, but we just ask that you use it from right there.
Yep.
You don't need to have all of that with you. And so there's some guardrails that we've set up for them. We want their friends to come over and hang out. So far, we've not had any kickback whatsoever. And their friends are fine. We actually find out that they don't sit in the same room and text back and forth now.
They actually talk.
They talk.
Yeah, right. Old school.
They do.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
Yeah. Dude, this has been it's been a fantastic conversation. Thanks for letting me come in here and turn some mics on and record this chat. Thank you for opening up and some of your experience and story. And you and I, and I know many of our listeners clearly connect on the need to engage intentionally with boys. And, when we do that, the world becomes a better place. It does. It really does. And when we can cast a bigger vision of what it means to be a man, that is a more inclusive vision to incorporate all of our uniqueness, and then help our boys to know that they're enough, and to help them to know when they've arrived so that they can take their place. Boy, that's special, and it's cool work to be able to recapture what used to happen generations ago, but in a more contemporary way, and use it for the advantage not just of our boys, but for the world around us.
Yeah, I think as you're talking, because God has created us all so unique, He's also created us with a sense of adventure. But adventure looks different for everyone.
That's right.
And I remember my dad specifically taking me fishing and me knowing that he did not really enjoy fishing very much.
He did it for you.
He did it for me. And there are 2 points of time specifically that I remember that I go back to when my dad made a decision that was unselfish, and it was all about me. And we have to do that for our boys.
Yep.
We have video game systems at the house, and my wife and I just yesterday said we need to sit down and have another conversation about video game time, because it's so easy to just start falling back in, and we've always had limits on that stuff. But we're finding ourselves, hey, we're now spending more time on it than we have in the past. And now it's starting to create frustrations and things. And so no matter what it is that your kids are interested in, for me, I play one type of game because I'm good at that game on the video game system. But I play another type of video game with my one son because I know he likes that.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at it at all. And it frustrates me to no end, makes me aggravated.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And I just can't, but I can do it for him.
Yeah.
And that means the world to him.
Yeah.
So what is it that I can do to connect with my kid?
Yeah. Well, thanks again, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate this opportunity.
It's been a pleasure. Same. And I know our listeners will benefit just from hearing your story and realizing it's not just them.
Yeah.
That's part of what we create here is awareness that, it's not just me.
Yeah.
Whatever the topic is or the focus, it's not just you. And so, dads, as you're listening, I would just challenge you as I normally do. What do you take away from here? Adam laid down some challenges. What are you taking away? Yeah. And it doesn't so much matter what, as it does to take that and use that as a springboard to engage even further. Wherever you are, just engage further with your kids. And maybe it's time for you to discover the outside and put that into your repertoire, or maybe it's something else. But don't let this be just an interesting conversation that you listen to. Let it propel you to do something different, to do something better, to engage with your boy in a different and new and better way. And as a result, your life will improve, your relationship with your son will improve, and his life will improve as well. And it's worth it. Well, guys, thanks for being with us once again on this episode. What are you taking away? That's our challenge as usual. And thank you for sticking with us, Adam. Thank you for bringing it today. Appreciate it. And listeners, as always, until next time, adios. Hey, listeners, thanks for journeying with us on this Next Man Up podcast. We would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question or an idea, perhaps a topic for us to consider. If that's you and you want to reach out to us, you can get us at feedback@thenextmanup.com. That's feedback@thenextmanup.com. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you later.